Benita's journey of hope. I was just 10 years old when my life took a drastic turn. I lost my parents and my father's family rejected me. I was left with no choice but to survive on the streets. I joined other homeless children and we slept under bridges, in open shops, and even abandoned cars and trucks. My name is Benita Okonzua and I'm from the South South region of Nigeria. Growing up on the streets was tough. I had to fight to protect myself, and I learned karate to defend myself against predators. One day, my mother's younger sister saw me hawking oranges on the streets. She was surprised and took pity on me. After a brief interview, she asked me to come live with her and her family. I was hesitant at first, but the prospect of having a roof over my head and a family to care for me was too enticing to resist. I moved in with my aunt and her family, but it wasn't the safe heaven I had hoped for. Her oldest son tried to rape me at night, and I had to use my karate skills to defend myself. My auntie's husband also made unwanted advances towards me. I endured the humiliation and abuse for 10 years, always on guard and ready to fight back. But I couldn't take it anymore, and one day I packed my bags and left. I was back on the streets, but this time I was determined to make a better life for myself. I joined a group of street children and we worked together to survive. I was introduced to a bread factory where I could collect bread on credit and sell it on the streets. It wasn't easy though, but I persevered, and soon I was making a decent living. I even added a touch of humor to my sales pitch, singing funny songs to attract customers. My life was going well until fate intervened. One day, a wealthy looking young lady approached me on the streets. She brought bread from me and asked about my story. I looked into her eyes and saw kindness, so I opened up to her. She was touched by my story and made me an offer to work as a nanny for her children. I was hesitant at first, but she convinced me to take the job. I moved in with the Johnsons, and it was a whole new world for me. The children, Timmy and his younger sister, were sweet and loving. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson were kind and welcoming. I felt like I had finally found a home. But little did I know that my life was about to take another dramatic turn. Mrs. Johnson was ill, and I soon discovered that she had breast cancer. I took care of Mrs. Johnson, and she grew fond of me. One day, she held my hand and asked why I cared for her so much. I told her that I had heard about her illness, and she was touched by my concern. She thanked me and prayed for me. But despite our efforts, Mrs. Johnson's condition worsened, and soon she passed away. The house was in murmuring, but Mr. Johnson was strong and held everything together. The children were devastated, but I was there to comfort them. One day, while I was tidying up Mrs. Johnson's room, I found a sealed envelope. I gave it to Mr. Johnson and he read it. Then he handed it to me. Hmm. The content shocked me. Mrs. Johnson had wanted Mr. Johnson to marry me and make me the children's next mother. Hey, life. I was stunned. But Mr. Johnson explained that his wife had chosen me for my kindness and caring nature. The children also wanted me to be their new mother. I was torn. But eventually, I agreed. Mr. Johnson and I got married, and I became the new mother to Timmy and his sister. I finally found a home and family that loved me. Hope you enjoyed the stories. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories.